Hello, good evening. You're watching RTD's English News. Our major stories for tonight are: the head of state received the railway new recruited. At the continental level, Zimbabwe declared in a state of emergency.
Those were the top stories. Thanks for joining us here on RTD's newsroom. The head of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has received this morning at the presidential palace a group of 10 young people newly recruited who have been in China for a higher education in the various fields related to the railway and the train. Following this hearing, the Equipment and Transport Minister Musa Ahmed Hassan, who introduced to the head of state this young man, has been very delighted and said, "Our country now has showed these young people trained in China all the skills and necessary expertise for commissioning and regulating our new railway line. Proud and motivated, Mrs. Hudan Hassan, Mumin and Hassan Laita have showed their enthusiasm about this project. They say they were impatient to put into practice the acquired knowledge."
The director of the Djibouti-Ethiopian Railway, Mahmoud Roble Dabar, has for its part described the beginning of these young leaders' jobs as a victory for the country. This is a success for our country in terms of the fight against the illness of young people, in terms of job creation, and the ability to map the challenge that requires regulation of our major development projects, such as the commissioning of an electric train, said the director.
And at the end of the encounter, the Equipment and Transport Minister Musa Ahmed Hassan has granted us an interview in which he said, "First of all, it must be recalled that as part of the preparation of the operation of the railway line Djibouti-Addis Ababa, who will be in operation very soon, a group of young students released in majority from the University of Djibouti. These young," he said, "have been selected through a competition and sent in China to follow a course of practical training accelerated during 6 months in order to work and to take in hand the new railway line. This morning, the head of state, Ismail Omar Guelleh, has received a group. Among this large group, at around hundreds of higher technicians and engineers. He said it's a great moment for them, and knowing that they are going to work on the railway line, and especially to be received by the President of the Republic, which has highlighted that they will be the first higher technicians and engineers who will work on this new railway line." So what is the scope of the fact that they are the pioneers? First of all, he said the chance that they have in work in a fascinating occupation as the railway line, and in addition all the work which is expected of them to give a beautiful example of attendance of hard work in order to succeed in this great project which is the railway line. The President of the Republic was very pleased to receive this group, and he has provided advice to move forward in their professional career.
A seminar on the promotion of Djibouti as a financial, commercial and logistics center has been launched today by the Delegate Minister of International Cooperation, Ahmed Ali Silai. This seminar, which is taking place in the Institute of Diplomatic Studies, has seen the participation of Diplomatic Institute Director Mr. Mahmoud Ali Meigag, Musa Ali Meigag, and international expert Mr. Etienne Krakow, as well as a large number of participants. Under the leadership of the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, large projects of strengthening Djibouti's infrastructure, road, rail, port and airports have been launched, in which huge investments have been estimated at more than $12.4 billion. These projects are also relevant to other sectors such as water, energy or telecommunications.
And in his address, the Minister Ahmed Ali Silai stated that the Republic of Djibouti plays a major role in the distribution of goods in the sub-regions. According to him, Djibouti has become a key center for the economic and trade exchanges between the different continents thanks to its a modern port infrastructure and has its legendary culture of exchange and meetings. It's in this spirit that the country has elaborated, he said, a development strategy known as Djibouti 2035 with the sole task of boosting the economic and growth in order to create jobs. This strategy will allow us to diversify growth. Moreover, Mr. Silai said with the support of the World Bank, the Djiboutian Central Bank has finalized a huge development project.
Still in the national news, the Minister of Health along with the Minister of Budget, Boda Ahmed, and the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Budul Hassan, has today inaugurated a health center in Ipeka 20 at Balbala municipality. Upon his arrival on the scene, the minister has been welcomed by the chief of the PK20 section as well as other personalities. This health center has been equipped with adequate medical devices and is intended for consulting the pregnant women. Thereafter, the delegation led by the Minister of Health, Dr. Qasim Issa Osman, has carried out a guided tour of this care center. It is composed of local prenatal consultation and infirmary and a pharmacy. Its services responds to the need for the expansion of the health coverage at the national level. This is one of the priorities of President Gele's roadmap. These details explain enough the acknowledgement supported that the leader of the village and the customary chiefs of the community have sent to the government, who spares no efforts in order to cover the needs in quality care. The inhabitants did not also miss to formulate some of their concerns. They have paid tribute to this initiative of the head of state and the First Lady.
And for his part, the Minister of Health, Dr. Qasim Issa Osman, has highlighted the crucial role of these health posts, which will be a significant support in this access of health care for the most vulnerable, including children and women. He then replied to the grievance formulated by the inhabitants of this locality. On the sidelines, he said it has been an opportunity to enlighten and research the population and safety against the Zika virus. In effect, we are fully protected and we have nothing to fear from this virus, has concluded the minister.
In the framework of support for the new mandate of the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Margeli, the active youth of Key 7 neighborhood or Section 7 have organized a joyful evening with sketches and traditional dances in the community center of the neighborhood. The participants and the authorities have demonstrated loud and clear their support to the President of the Republic for a new mandate at the Supreme Judiciary of the country on the next April 8. Several prominent personalities have taken part in the ceremony, including the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Budul Hassan, the MB Mohammed Fulleye, the President of the Annex Osman Omar Farah, as well as hundreds of young people. At the approach of the presidential elections scheduled for April 8, 2016, the support for President Gele has been multiplied in the capital as well as in the regions of the interior.
madaxweynaha iyaga qaaliga aan halkan iskugu imanay ee munaasabada ay ubadkaasi dhigaan ee halka ay nigu tuseen maansooyinka iyo ruwaayadaba waxaan leenahay madaxweynaha iyaga Ismaaciil Cumar Geele ilaahay madaxiisa iyo mijihiisaba ha raajiye isaga ayaan mar shanaad iyo mar afraad ba u footaynayna isagaan garab joognaa inaguna maxaa tiraahdeen waxaan leenahay madaxweynaha iyaga saamaanta halka waxaan u joognaa waa isaga dartii shalay toole le 1er November waa anaga u soo baxnay anaga soo joogsanay Tehraanka oo niri madaxweyne mar labaad noogu noqo maantana waxaan leenahay mar afraad iyo mar shanaad ba waan ku footaynayna maanta ficilkii aan shalay ku soo baxnay maanta nagama biin baan leenahay wixii aad qabatay hadaa habeen iyo laba iyo saddex midna laguma dhamayn karo laakiin waxaan leenahay oo maanta ku soo gabagabaynayna anagoon hadal badinayn anagoon ka badbadinaynin oo ammaan aan maanta soo badbadinaynin waxaan leenahay maanta afka waan ka keenay ficilkiiba maanta anaguna aan kula garab joognaa inaan maalinta foodka saxaarada buuxino kaarfootaaga qaadano albaabada boorta u garaacno aan albaabada garaacno hebel waan nacaa hebel waan jecelahay hebel waa la ii diiday hebel ima ag joogo inta baan iska fogayno inaan mabda'a aan sidano u yahay EOJ mabda'a aan sidano u yahay EMB inaan fogayno midda kale aan leenahay way qaadna qiimo laguma yeesho waa maxaan ku dhahdaa way qabatayna qiimo laguma yeesho way maxaan ku dhahdaa wuu yeelayna maxaan ku dhahdaa magac kuguma soo baxo laakiin waxa weeyaan meel baan u wada jeednaa walaalaan nahay gacan midaan nahay inaan maanta aan inagu halkii aan u jeednay aabeeni shalay aan banaanka ugu baxnay aan garab joogsano haddaan xaafadda toddobaad nahayna waxaan leenahay mudane madaxweyne ballan baan ku qaadaynaa hooyada iyo aabaha maxaan ku dhahdaa qaangaadhka ilaa cirooliya caananuugba waxaan leenahay mudane madaxweyne saddexdayada iskool annagu ballan baan ku qaadaynaa buuxda waxaan leenahay socodkii aan marnay premier November waan ka midho dhalinaynaa waana ka run sheegaynaa wasalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi
dhalinta dalkeeniyo da'yartii haddaan nahay dadaalow Ismaaciil daadahiye qaranow daacad baan ku nahay dhalinta dalkeeniyo da'yartii haddaan nahay daryeelow Ismaaciil dadka ruuxa liitiyo dhalinyaraha gargaaro daacad baan ku nahay dhalinta dalkeeniyo da'yartii haddaan nahay dadaalow Ismaaciil geesiga dulqaadkiyo deeqsiga wax bixinto daacad baan ku nahay dhalinta dalkeeniyo da'yartii haddaan nahay dadaalow Ismaaciil daayirkii midnimada dadku wada jeclaayo daacad baan ku nahay dhalinta dalkeeniyo da'yartii haddaan nahay dadaalow Ismaaciil dadku wuu ku maadsho dacay amaan baan ku dalaalimeynay daa'inkan ha kula jiro dadka kale waxay tahay darkasta daliishood geed waliba daaqi ruux kasta dadnimadii dawlad waliba taagteed bulsho kasta dadaalkeed han hoos u daadagay ruuxii afduub iyo dan kale u wadee meel kale ka duulee danihiisa gaarka ah sheekada ku darayo waxaan nahay dal jira garo waxaan ku darayaa anoo deegal barwaaqo ah deegaan nabadoon yahay beena uma dumaantumo dabeelaha wax qaadiyo duufaan ma haybsado waxaan uga dan leeyahay doodeedu ay tahay yee noqon dadkeenani dabeeshii wajinuu xilli ay dawaaf ahayd doqontii ardaageed dabku kaga baktiyee qiiqi dugsanaysay qaran garan weyday dogab kali ducufliita ma ahayd dadaal kale ha lagu daro waxaan uga dan leeyahay wixii kaa daaweynhaa waa loo dadaalaa dariiq bayna leedahay si adoo wax daban kara idab ilama idhaahdee inkastoo dalkeeni khayraadka loo degin waqti kii dameer lihi dalkiisa aamine daawo wadanimo maadugaad baa cunay dawlad yahay arrimaha daryeelkay dadku gocanayaan baan dawlad yahay u toosiri waxaan uga dan leeyahay doodeedu ay tahay dadaal kale lagu daro maasadeedu waa intaa waxaan ka filayaa inaad fahanteen murtida xaggaasi ku jirta waana mahadsantiin.
Moving on to another news, the Alfonso Association has granted the donation of school kits to children of SOS Village in Tajora. The school kits have been distributed to the children of the most vulnerable families from the villages. SOS Villages is an international organization whose mission are to work to help and protect the rights of orphans and vulnerable children. Through this action, Alfonso is aligned to these objectives in the interest of the children. Represented this event, the director of the SOS Village NGOs, Ali Ubakar, the wise men of the city, and other participants such as Mohammed Hussein. The project manager of the association, Ali Mohammed Ambassa, said that this event is the beginning of a long regional tour. At the end of handing over this donation, the chairman of the association, Mohammed Musa Kamil, addressed its thanks to the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Badul Hassan Badul, for granting this material.
Under the auspices of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, the Djiboutian Handball Federation has launched yesterday afternoon the National Championship of season 2015-2016 second division at the State High School of Jemanisme or Lycée d'État. The particularity of this season is the participation of children aged of 9 and 10. The objective being to promote the practice of handball among all the youth, but also to ensure the succession for the years to come. The opening match has opposed the FC Por to the Al Ghazali team. The two teams have offered the supporters a stunning game, but the determination of the Al Ghazali team gave them the domination of this match, where the victory was there with a score of 20 goals to 8.
Still in sport news, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport has proceeded to draw the teams that will compete for the final phase of the first National Youth Games. For this purpose, the groups will consist of teams of each discipline, such as football, basketball, handball, and volleyball, as well for the individual sports.
Always in the sports news, the Djiboutian Federation of Athletics is working on a project for the organization of Sport Intervention Force meeting, which will be held in Djibouti on the next March the 2nd. The Djiboutian Federation of Athletics wants to make of the first edition of this meeting an international event grouping the great athletes in Olympics as well as global medalists. In the framework, the leaders of the federation have multiplied in recent times their contacts with the stars of the distance running and health foundation to ensure a massive participation at this event. During a recent visit to Addis Ababa, a delegation of the Djiboutian Athletics Federation has received already a favorable opinion on the part of several international stars and officials of the clubs of athletics. The international British Olympic champion Mo Farah has welcomed this initiative and assured his participation in the fourth edition. Others, as Ethiopian world champion and Olympic champion Kensabe Didaba and Ibrahim Jilani, who for their part have indicated that they gave a lot of interest to the organization of this first meeting. Mo Farah said this is a great day where we are gathered to prepare for the first international athletics meeting in East of Africa, which will take place in Djibouti on the next March the 3rd. We confirm our participation in that we are going to honor the initiative taken by the Federation of Djibouti of Athletics, he said. We discussed with the Federation of the ways and means necessary to give a new momentum to the athletics, but also to give a new hope to the youth in Djibouti and to encourage the Djiboutian Federation of Athletics to continue to make innovative initiatives. He urged the Djiboutian people to participate massively in this international meeting. For his part, Mr. Jama Aden confirmed that the Djiboutian International British Olympic champion Mo Farah Federation of Athleticism has already convinced the great stars of the Ethiopian's international athletics like Ibrahim Jilani and Dida Baba, as well as other athletes. The national coach is convinced also that this international meeting will be a success in the sports world. Mr. Mohammed Jama Aden continued his remarks by explaining that this first international meeting will be historic events because such international stars will compete and will establish new records.
First of its kind, the East of Africa, the president of the Djibouti Athletics Federation, Mr. Mohamed Ahmed Shekho, has indicated during an interview that he granted us that the organization of this meeting is part of the innovative program that this committee had promised at the time of their election at the head of these federations.
Moving on to the regional news, Somalia's central bank governor wants the country to maintain its first currency since the 1980s. After decades of economic and political instability, the central bank boss says the time is right for the country's financial regulator to play its rightful role. Saeed Mohammed for more details.
Somalia's central bank governor wants to create and circulate a new currency to replace the Somali shilling, which is less and less used. The tattooed shilling notes still in circulation, worth about $4 cents, are emblematic of Somalia's descent since 1991, when Mohammed Siad Barre was toppled by warlords who carved up the country into personal fiefdoms, reports the Reuters. "We absolutely need a new currency," said Ali, who this time became central bank governor in 2013, adding that the existing notes are old, they're torn, they're dirty, and besides, fake. With Somalia's capital of Mogadishu is changing fast and rapidly, recovering from war, economic experts warn that Ali will need to do more than just printing new banknotes, as most Somali currently use mobile money system to carry out their daily business transactions in dollars.
Let's pass to the continental news. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has declared a state of emergency as a severe drought has been ravaging most rural areas in the South African countries. Currently, 25% of the population, comprising a sum of 2.44 million people, is in need of food aid. Villages in southern Zimbabwe have lost cattle and crops in the drought. Saeed Mohammed tells us more again.
Severe dryness has hit Zimbabwe, leading President Robert Mugabe to declare a state of disaster in most rural part of the country. The government says 26% of the population is in need of food aid. It represents the worst dryness in Zimbabwe in a quarter of a century. The declaration of a state of disaster allows international donors to rapidly raise money to assist the country. Eddie Rowe, country's director of the World Food Programme, said, by declaring this dryness an emergency and providing clear evidence of the extent to which this is going to impact on the life of people, put Zimbabwe and the Southern African region into a focus where donors and the international community would recognize that, yes, we have a major problem in our hand. Zimbabwe is said to have received below 75% of normal rains. Southern Africa is parched with poor rains hitting crops. The dryness in Zimbabwe is only expected to add to economic problem caused by a steep 9-year recession which ended in 2008.
With the international news, at least 15,000 Syrians have fled an intensifying assault around the city of Aleppo. Crowds of people have been massing at the Bab al-Salam crossing on the Turkish border. Russia's intervention has tipped the war in favor of President Bashar al-Assad, reversing gains rebels made last year. Aleppo will be the biggest strategic prize in years for the Assad government. That's it for tonight's news. Thanks for following us on RTD. Have a wonderful evening.